Hello and welcome to another video. Today I am going to be talking about some books that I have on my TBR. I say TBR because I don't strictly set a TBR, I just have the books that I own that I've read, the books that I own that I haven't read, and then out of those books that I own that I haven't read, there's some in my head that I know I want to get to soon-ish. So yeah, that's kind of it. I'm a mood reader. I don't set myself goals, monthly goals or anything. I am thinking of doing a couple of monthly goals for some videos, so let me know if that is something you would like to see. But basically, these are some of the books that I think are pretty hyped that I have on my TBR. So these are books that I've seen quite a lot jumping about the interweb, seeing in a lot of videos, seeing in Instagram posts, seeing on Twitter, just generally books that I've seen a lot of hype surrounding. Whether it's old or new hype, generally these are books that have been hyped. So they're books I haven't read. Will they live up to the hype? Will I enjoy them? I don't know, but I'm going to tell you what they are. Let me know if you've read them in the comments and whether you think they're going to live up to the hype, or maybe which ones you think I'll like the most. But I don't know, I'm really bad at reading hype books because I always seem to think the opposite of what everyone else thinks, so I don't want to read these and not be quite as hyped as everyone else is. First up, we've got Alice Osman's Loveless. This is a young adult contemporary, but in my head it fits more into the new adult contemporary setting, genre, age, target audience, because this is set at university, so well, she's just going into university as she starts university. Now, there's nowhere I suppose overtly telling me this is YA, maybe that's my own assumption that I've put it in, but university to me feels more like new adult than it does young adult, so I don't know. I don't know why I've not read this one. I really enjoy Alice Osman's writing. I really loved Radio Silence by her. I love the Heartstopper series. So it's kind of a no-brainer that I'm going to enjoy this. This one did come out a few years ago or a year ago. It came out in the past sometime and everyone seemed to absolutely adore it. So I'm sure that I am going to, but this certainly was very hyped when it came out. So I think that might have been a reason I didn't quite reach towards picking it out. But basically, I think this follows a girl who is just starting off at university and sees all these people around her in relationships and really wants to be in a relationship herself, or find love at least, and she actually ends up really struggling to find romance. She hears a lot of words thrown about such as asexual and aromantic, and she starts to wonder perhaps if these apply to her. So this seems to really be a journey that she's going on whilst also experiencing everything you experience going to university for the first time. Very excited to read this one. So this is possibly one that I'll read sooner rather than later, but it's very hyped, therefore I'm worried. Then we've got The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. This is a book I've spoken about quite a few times before on this channel because it's a book I did start and then put down, not in a DNF way. I basically picked this one up around October time, just as I was moving into this flat, and I realised that this needed a lot more brain power than I was able to give it, so I temporarily put it down, but this really does seem like a book that I want to read around the autumn time, so I feel like I don't want to pick this one up immediately. But I know that a lot of people love this. I've not seen anyone have a bad word to say about it. I read The 10,000 Doors of January by the same author and I did enjoy it. I found it a little slow at times, but I think this author's very whimsical, if I remember correctly, and really paints a beautiful story along with some really intricately written characters. But what this is about is two different movements. We've got a movement of witches and a movement of feminism and women's rights, basically. They seem to collide. So initially we're seeing three sisters who are witches in a world where being a witch is not okay. And at the same time there's the suffragette movement, or the suffragist movement, I think it is, suffragist movement. And when is this set? Is it the 1800s? Yeah, 1893. And basically these women are kind of getting swept up in it, and it's the question of, is it going to become more of a witch movement or a witch feminist movement, I think. There's witches, there's magic. This is the Illumicrate edition and it has absolutely beautiful red pages. I think this is one of my favourite books on my shelf, but I am intimidated by this because it's not that it's that long, I just feel like I know what to expect from the writing, and because everyone loved it so much I'm just like, oh, am I gonna love it? Then we've got Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is another newish release and god, it's very shiny, isn't it? That is a shiny cover. I feel like this is the kind of print that the spine is just going to break the minute I open this, which is going to be a sad moment. But anyway, this one actually also came in an Illumicrate box, but I am really excited to read this one because it is a modern day magic situation, so magic in our world. Obviously it's not quite our world, but it's a modern day fantasy type of thing. There's probably a word for that. Anyway, this is about a young girl whose mum passes away and she's kind of enlisted into this school program to be able to help her. I don't know whether it's to help her deal with it or as distractions and things to channel herself into, but she ends up somehow witnessing some kind of a magic event at the school, like a a magical attack on her first night in campus. Great start. And she ends up getting swept up in this world of people that are all descendants from King Arthur and seem to have these magical abilities. This sounds really unique. I love the King Arthur involvement in it as well, because that is like, you're reading the blurb and then that pops up and you're like, oh, didn't expect it to go down that route. So I love anything modern day magic-y. I'm really excited to give this one a go, but I've seen, again, a lot of people really excited about this one when it came out last year, or this year, last year. So again, it's another hyped one, but one that I'm really excited to get to. Then we've got Cersei by Madeline Miller. Probably the one that I am most terrified of in this whole list. Well, actually, no, there's one more. Because I read Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller and everyone told me I was going to cry my eyes out, and I just didn't. And I think I really thought it was going to give me something and it didn't, and I think the hype for that book almost ruined my experience reading it, if that doesn't sound completely pompous. So I'm worried that this is going to do the same thing, because this has had a lot of hype, but it's a totally different story. We follow Cersei, who has basically been banished by Zeus for having witchcraft abilities, and she then goes on a journey of exploring that witchcraft and seeing what that brings out of her. I am very excited to read this one. I am also just very nervous that I am not going to enjoy it as much as everyone else does, or I'm just gonna find it slow or dull. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm expecting from it. I just know that everyone loves this book, everyone loves this author, and The Song of Achilles just didn't hit me in the right place. So will this one? I don't know. This is why the hype is a bad thing for me, but I don't know. Okay, this one. This is the one I'm most terrified of. Correction. This is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This book won the WATERSTONES Book of the Year prize last year in 2020. I bought it because when I was checking out of WATERSTONES, it offered me this at half price, and this is beautiful. And I'm also trying to expand more of what I'm reading at the moment, and given that this was the Book of the Year for WATERSTONES, I thought it might be a good place to start. I believe this is a sort of retelling story of how Hamnet inspired the play Hamlet. It's a Shakespeare-esque journey following this boy, I think. There's a little snippet in the blurb that says, Hamnet is a novel inspired by the son of a famous playwright. It is the story of the bond between twins and of a marriage pushed to the brink by grief. It is also the story of a kestrel and its mistress, a flea that boards a ship in Alexandria, and a glovemaker's son who flouts convention in pursuit of the woman he loves. There seems to be a lot in this. I don't really know where the plot's going to go with it, but I think it's going to be beautiful. I'm expecting very literary writing. Therefore, it's probably not going to be one I pick up on a whim. It's probably going to be one that I really have to think, I am going to read this now. But that being said, I hope I enjoy it. It's just that because this was the Book of the Year, obviously there's a lot resting on this one's shoulders, and there is obviously a lot of hype there because it's the Book of the Year, so I really hope it lives up to it. And lastly, we've got From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one is one that everybody has loved recently. Everyone's saying how quick a read it is. It's not thin, so I'm gonna have to take people's words for that. It's also ridiculously heavy. Like, I think it's heavier than a hardback. Yeah, it's heavier than a hardback. Are these really thick pages or something? Yes, yes they are. Weird print. Anyway, this is everywhere. Everyone is just talking about this, saying it's fantastic. Everyone is singing its praises, which means that naturally I am reluctant to read it because I think that that means that I won't like it as much, because that's just what happens. I don't know anything about this other than the fact that I think the main character has been either banned or isn't able to feel pleasure or be touched or anything like that. I don't really want to read too much into it. Yeah, she's never been touched, never been looked upon, never been spoken to, never experienced pleasure. She would rather be with the guards fighting back evil that took her family than preparing to be found worthy by the gods, but the choice has never been hers. Okay, so she's waiting for the day of ascension, and apparently the entire kingdom rests on her shoulders. I don't know what to expect from this. It's a fantasy. Everyone loves it. Ergo, I'm worried that I will not. Do you see the logic here? Basically, I just don't seem to like the books that everyone else loves. Although there's a lot of books that I do love that everyone else loves, but I always feel like the more hype it gets, the less I will enjoy it, or less I feel inclined to read it, because if someone tells me something is going to be like right up my street, I'm always like, okay, cool. And then the minute it isn't, I'm like, oh no, I have to tell them that I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. So yeah, the hype, it scares me, guys, it scares me. And yeah, I'm going to put this one down because I don't need an arm workout right now. So those are all the books that I have got on my TBR that are very hyped, ergo very scary for me to pick up. It's not that these books are necessarily daunting themselves as books, it's just the expectation, and I know that as soon as I say I'm reading them, I then have to give my thoughts and feelings, so if they're not good thoughts and feelings, I always feel bad, because also I'm a very firm believer, as I've said multiple times before, if I don't like a book, it doesn't mean that you won't like a book, and if I like a book, it doesn't mean you'll like the book. Basically, we've all got different opinions, so the fact these are all hyped doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be hyped for me, but I will slowly get to them. I will. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up. You can comment down below what books you think are overly hyped, whether you read any of these ones, or what hyped books you haven't liked. That's a whole other video that I probably did many months ago. I feel like I'm forgetting what videos I've filmed and what videos I haven't, but I think when it's bookish content you can just constantly update stuff, because my favourite books change all the time, my TBRs will change all the time, my collection will change all the time. So anyway, if you want to see more videos from me, do click subscribe. Also, if you would like even more content from me and want to go down a slightly different route with that kind of content, so in terms of there's a book club, there's a Discord, there's live shows, I am going to be doing all of this within my Patreon. Yay, Patreon plug! So that is also linked down below. It's just a little community of people that are all a lovely positive little family, where it's basically just different bits of content I can offer and a nice little supportive community, and it's so nice. So that's linked down below as well. So yeah, that's all the things. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep smiling and stay positive.